I am ready to change my college football playoff predictions. Many people have done it before and been accused of all sorts of things. I am just the latest. Let me remind you where I was in the preseason. This is where I was. And if you're listening on podcast, we had 2 rematches of conference championship games in the Final Four. We had Ohio State, Oregon, and we had Texas, Alabama, and we had Ohio State over Texas in the national title game. So the devil is a lot more in the details of 5 through 12, basically, like which other teams did we have in. So it was, in the preseason, it was Ohio State, Texas, Miami, and Oklahoma. That was my 1 through 4. Those were my conference champs, basically. And therefore, those were the teams that were going to get a bye. I have some changes that I would like to make right here before God and you and everyone else. I would like to change my number 1 seed to Texas. Texas wins the SEC and is my number 1 seed. Ohio State wins the Big Ten. They are my number 2 seed. I've got Miami winning the ACC just as I did. I've got them with the number 3 seed, just as I did. Iowa State, welcome to the party. You might as well call it now. Iowa State, the Big 12 champ. Whatever you think about auto bids, they suck. But whatever you think about them, that's the rules. And so Iowa State's number 4. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, the real fun begins in number 5, 6, 7, and 8. I still hold the theory, I still hold the opinion that the committee is going to heavily favor teams that made their conference title game. So if Bama's losing the SEC title game, I think they drop no further than 5th. Oregon loses the Big Ten title game. I think they drop no further than 6th. Penn State is going to be a strong candidate to have one of these top seeds. And I think that there will be number 7. Tennessee's right there at number 8. I could flip those in any order. There's, to me, frankly, not a lot of skill in predicting how that goes. Now, even more fun than that is who are the last 4 here. Number 9, I've got Georgia in the playoff. I just think they're a 2-loss team, a 2-loss at-large from the SEC. That's what I think we're looking at right now if I had to project it in Georgia. Clemson, if their resume has a loss to Georgia and their other loss is, let's say, the ACC title game to Miami, that's an 11-2 resume. It's really solid. I think they'll be good enough to lock down a 10 seed. I put USC at 11. Now, let me tell you, I think LSU is going to make a little run here. I think LSU is going to factor somehow into the bubble of the playoff conversation. But I think it may come down to people comparing resumes, USC, LSU, and there is a head-to-head result that you'd have to honor there. So, believe it or not, I was close to putting LSU in there. I think there's still some gas in the tank for that team. And so I don't have Notre Dame in the playoff. I don't have Ole Miss in the playoff. I think LSU, USC, those kinds of teams could be in the conversation. I got LSU 11. I've got the Fighting Barry Odoms out there. UNLV is currently my G5 team that I would put in the playoff now over Memphis. The Aaron Grisham special there, as we like to call it. Okay, now that we've got our seeds 1 through 12, how do I think this is playing out? I'm actually not nervous at all. I'm just pretending. Because the bracket is fixed, because we don't reseed, let me tell you what this means. We got a 5 through 12 here. 5 versus 12 is Alabama versus UNLV. All due respect to the Rebs, I don't love their chances going into Tuscaloosa in December. I just don't. USC versus Oregon, USC at Oregon. I would take Oregon to win that game. Clemson at Penn State is really fun. I would take Penn State, a rested Penn State at home in mid-December to win that game. And I would actually, they're not rested, are they? They're still, though. They are kind of rested because Penn State didn't play in the conference title game and Clemson did. So they kind of are rested. I take Penn State there. And Georgia at Tennessee. So basically a return trip in the same year because they play in Athens in a couple of weeks. I would take Tennessee in that matchup, I think, right now to win that game. So all the home teams win there, which advances them to the next round. Remember, friends, the bracket is set, so we don't reseed. Texas would play Tennessee. We think that would be in the Sugar Bowl. I would take Texas over Tennessee. We would have Ohio State versus Penn State. We think that that one would be in the Rose Bowl because of the historical tie-in. I take Ohio State to win that one. That would be Penn State's second trip to LA this year, by the way. We have got Miami versus Oregon. I don't need to tell fans of either program, nor do I need to tell the staffs of either program, nor do I need to tell the SID departments of either program what the lead storyline in this matchup would be. Miami versus Oregon. Think head coaches, think head coaches. We think that one would be in the Peach Bowl. Slight lean Miami right now. Very slight lean, like really slight lean. And then Iowa State would play Alabama in what we think would be the Fiesta Bowl, so out in Arizona. And I take Bama. Bama will have, just if you're keeping track at home, as the 5 seed, Bama will have drawn UNLV and Iowa State so far. But there are people out there who will tell you slam dunk, no question, that'd rather have the role of Texas. That'd rather have the role of Ohio State. Okay. I think case by case we may disagree on that, i.e. this case. Let's go. Final 4. We have got Texas versus Alabama, an SEC championship game rematch. We have got Ohio State, Miami. They don't play in the regular season. Now, let me tell you what the big controversy here would be. These semifinal games are in Arlington, Texas, and Miami, Florida. Preference is given to the top overall seed. So Texas essentially kind of gets to pick where they play. Texas is not choosing to go to South Florida when they can play in their backyard there in Dallas. So Texas would play Bama in Dallas, and I need you to understand that that means even though Ohio State is the number 2 overall seed, they would be forced to go to Miami, Florida, to play Miami in a semifinal game. Does it seem right? Does it make sense? Of course it does not. But in this unique circumstance, that's the way it would work. I would take, nevertheless, Texas to beat Bama. I would take Ohio State to beat Miami, and it would give me the exact same championship game that I already had, and I'm going to take my exact same champion. I am going to take in the national title game, slightly, Ohio State over Texas. Model would make that Ohio State minus 1.5 right now. Model's very high on Ohio State. You can disagree with that. That's okay. We got a long way to go. But we got Ohio State over Texas still in the national championship game right now. I don't see how any of it goes wrong. I honestly don't.